Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a very exciting video. In fact, we are talking about the newest Nabla release of their Cutie collection. Now, this is a release that was postponed a little because it was supposed to be their spring release coming out somewhere in March, but this whole coronavirus situation meant that they decided to wait for a month for the worst of it to pass, at least in Italy, and to actually use this instead of celebrating spring to celebrate the, let's say, rebirth or just getting better and hopes and positivity. And I think they did a good job at that. I think it was nice that they waited. It was not a good time to release in March. I think many companies are affected by that, both in terms of manufacturing as well as in terms of vibes and what they want to project to their customers. So I think they did a good job there. In this collection, we have 3 moods inspired by 3 different palettes, or actually maybe 3 collections with 3 palettes inspired by 3 different moods. And I got a few pieces for myself, and then I got a few things for a friend of mine, and she very nicely let me swatch them and try them with you. And I am talking specifically of the lipstick because none of the colors really spoke to me, so I wasn't going to buy any lipstick, but I still wanted to talk about it with you guys. So that is what we're going to talk about today. The palettes are the mini cutie small size that we know from Nabla before. They had last summer, I believe, the nude, cutie nude and cutie coral. I actually bought cutie coral a while ago and it's sitting in Italy for me because I was supposed to go to Italy in March, and so then I had it shipped to a friend of mine. And anyways, these are the same format as those two, and you can see them right here. They're really small and cute in the hand. You can see that they're quite small. What they do have is that they're a little bit thicker, and it comes especially on the eyeshadow side. So I don't know if these eyeshadows are particularly deep. I'm not gonna try and dig through them. Not my job, and I like them, so I'm not gonna do that. Maybe the girls on Beauty News can see how deep they are and if the packaging was needed to be so deep. But that is the only thing. They have a magnetic closure, they're made of cardboard, and the art on these are gorgeous. The most beautiful one is the Metropolitan Palette, which actually has art by Sean Hanaway. So an artist was especially hired to make this artwork, whereas the other 2 have artwork from the designers at Nabla. Together with the 3 palettes, each mood has their own eye stylo and the lipstick. Now, the Cupid's Arrow are the new product from this collection, and they're full color stylos, they're called. They come in packaging like this, which has the same artwork as the palette. So this one is number 2, which goes with the Metropolitan palette, and you can see that the art up here reflects on the palette and in the cardboard as well. And these are new products for Nabla. They are multi-use stylos, so you can use them all over, anywhere on your face. And I find them especially beautiful on the eyes, and we're gonna go through them as we go with the palette. And then finally you got 3 lipsticks in this collection. The packaging, the cardboard packaging, again reflects the color of the palette. In this case, this is the berry lipstick, and it reflects the color of the berry palette. And for the first time, Nabla has lipstick tubes that have the same color as the lipstick inside. This is also a new formula for Nabla. These are creamy lipsticks compared to their latest release, which was instead of bullet matte lipstick in their signature rose gold feather matte thing. Now that we have gone through a little bit of the collection, This collection is for sale on Nabla's website, Sephora in Italy, and Poland, I believe, has Sephora Poland has it. It's on Ulta in the US, it's on Morphe's website, and many other smaller retailers in the Netherlands, specifically Beauty 88 and Boozy Shop have them. And yeah, you can purchase it from your favorite retailer. They had a discount at launch of 15%. Plus the bundles. The bundles contained each one, the palette, the stylo, and the lipstick of that collection, and they were not interchangeable, and those were actually quite nicely discounted. I thought the total was over 54 euros and you paid 39, so I thought that was a good launch, but that is past and gone. I purchased them at the launch or the day after launch, and they took quite a while to reach me because of the coronavirus measures that they have to both keep their employees in the distribution centers safe, and the couriers also are working a little bit slower. So it took a week to get here, or it took a week to be shipped, and then 2 days to get here. So that was a little bit slower than what usually Nabla does, but in this circumstance, I actually am very happy they're still shipping, because in Italy for a while everything was stopped. Now let's talk a little bit about the individual products. I'm gonna start with the palettes, and I am going to go in order of the way they're numbered. So each palette comes with a little number up here and two symbols that symbolize the mood of the palette. The first one, which is number 3, if you have nude 1, I think coral is number 2, this one is number 3, is the Platinum Cutie, and you can see the symbols here are a diamond and the PT symbol for platinum. This palette right here, I'll tell you immediately, is my absolute favorite of the 3. If you have to buy only one, this is the one that I would recommend for the colors that I love, for the formulas that are in here and the textures that are in here, and the color choice. So this palette contains 2 mattes and then 4 shimmers, of which we have 1 metal foil, 2 fluid metal, and 1 super sparkle. The super sparkle is a new texture that is absolutely stunning, or it's a new texture to me. Maybe it's actually present in the Dreamy 2, but I'm not sure about that. All of the Nabla palettes, these are the first ones I ever buy. I am a big fan of Nabla single shadows, but I never bought any of their palettes because the colors were just not speaking to me. But the super sparkle texture in here is new, innovative, amazing, and it is a glitter bomb. The 2 mattes are their super mattes, so there's not latex mattes are not in this palette. There's actually only 1 latex matte in the whole collection. I'll show you later. And the 2 fluid metals are this pinky tone here called Rich Darling and Priceless, this bronze right here. I am wearing this palette on my eyes today with Priceless all over my lid, a little bit of the super sparkle, literally just, I wanted only the sparkle of it, not the color. And then I have the mattes in the crease and the outer corner. And the fluid metals are a little bit underwhelming, I find, as a formula, in the sense that I expect amazing pigmentation and shine, and as you can see, they work well, they're beautiful shimmers, but they're quite normal. And somehow I have come to think of Nabla as an innovative company, and when they put normal formulas, I'm like, what is this? So they're a little bit underwhelming, beautiful shades though. Let me then introduce you to the only metal foil in this one, which is this silver right here, which is called Luxuriance, and that's what I have in my inner corner today. But I honestly tried not to apply it to its full capacity because I thought it would be too cool toned with this look, but it's a beautiful, beautiful silver. Now let's take a look at the swatches. We have Tenebra, which is a very dark brown. It has a slightly cool undertone, very nice to apply on the outer corner and smoke things out. Then we have the Super Sparkle, which is called Gem System, and it's this. Can you see how wet and gorgeous that is? I just can't. And then we have the Fluid Metal, which is called Rich Darling, which is this beautiful rose-toned, yeah, with it has a little bit of a cooler shimmer on top. It's a very beautiful shadow and very elegant, I find. Next up we have Priceless, the brassy color. Then Luxuriance, the metal, oh my god. I mean, it's a mirror. It's a mirror. And finally, Aristocracy, which is the medium toned matte. These, I'm having a hard time swatching them, but the performance of these eyeshadows is incredible on the eyes. I really like the way they blend. There, I made better swatches when I don't have to show them to you guys, the swatches themselves. So both mattes work very well as expected from their super matte formula. I find the darker one a little bit harder to blend, but it's just because it's so dark. So you just need to go in with a small brush. I found today that one of my favorite brushes to apply these dark eyeshadows are little tiny fluffy brushes like this one. It's a pencil brush, but it's very fluffy. Sorry for the dirty fingers. It's very fluffy and it works really well. This is the small pencil from the Nabla Rose Gold brush collection. And these are absolutely stunning eyeshadows. Now, someone might say that this palette looks a lot like Sultry by Anastasia Beverly Hills, and I wanted to show you that palette with a few comparisons. So one thing that immediately caught my eyes was, for example, the silver here, but the one in the Sultry palette is much more taupe. And here you can see the swatches. The first one is from the Nabla Cutie palette. The next one is from the Sultry palette. So both the texture are different and the undertone. I hope you can see that there's a bit more, not even taupe actually, more mauvey, pinky undertone to Cyborg from the Sultry palette. And the formulas are different. This one is extremely smooth and extremely reflective. So I don't think these are dupes. Other shades that could be similar could be the brass shade. So this one here is Priceless from the Cutie, and this one here is Steampunk from the Anastasia Beverly Hills palette. And you can see that they're different both again in texture and in color. So the one from the Cutie is a bit darker and less shiny, and the one from Anastasia Sultry is shinier and a bit lighter and a bit warmer, I would say. So this is the comparison. When it comes to the dark shades, I can also just show you the pans because I think there's nothing similar. Between Tenebra and Dystopian, the matte brown, Tenebra is much darker and more cool toned, and then we have the other mattes that are in the Cutie palette Aristocracy, and here we have the shade Twig. Twig is much less rosy and much more just a regular brown with a bit of even a warm tone in it. So these were a bit the comparisons that I wanted to make for you. The Cutie Platinum has a similar vibe as the Sultry, but the textures that are in here are very unique and the color story is different, or like the colors are different. The color story is similar, but the colors are different. Now, if you have one, do you need the other? It's very difficult to say. I have to say I love Sultry. I don't use it enough, and I love the selection of shimmers that it has, but the texture of gem system and this metal foil right here, Luxuriance, these are so unique. I also really love this transition shade. It's such a unique point of browny, rosy brown. I really like it. So I am in love with this palette. Moving on, this was a long one because I love that palette so much. In the Platinum collection, we have a Stylo, which is a light brown, and then a darker rosy nude toned lipstick. I am actually sad I didn't buy the lipstick. The Stylo wasn't really my shade in the sense that it's quite light and I wouldn't use it, but the lipstick is very interesting. I was afraid it was too gray, so I didn't purchase it because gray tones or any gray undertone there would have looked really, really bad on me. So from that collection, I only purchased the palette. Then the next one up is Metropolitan. This is Cutie number 4, and it was inspired by the city. And you can see here a brick wall and high heels. I guess New York, but it could be Milan. Of course, knowing the brand, it might actually be Milan. The artwork on here, as I said, is gorgeous. You have the, actually, I think this is the Statue of Liberty, it looks like. Some ghosts, and it's just beautiful artwork. What I've heard often is that why aren't these colors inside? And a little bit I would agree. This is the color story for the Metropolitan eyeshadow palette, and to me, the first thing I would do is remove this. That coral is such a sore sight to my eyes that I just don't want it. The coral fits very well in the coral palette, but in this one I would have wanted anything else. That is my biggest criticism to it. Then we have again a dark brown, which is something that you'll see in each of the palettes, and they all have different undertones. We can look at the swatches when I finish all the palettes. And then here we have 2 metal foils. The Alaska, and that is actually a multi-chrome or a trichrome top coat, and then the shade Anomalia, which is the most beautiful gold I've ever seen. Then we have a super sparkle, the shade Dissolution, another just these two are just the reason you need this palette. And then we have a fluid metal Love Resin, that again, beautiful color, slightly underwhelming in the grander scheme of things. Let's take a look at these swatches. I'm gonna start from Lord, the dark brown, and you can see how this one is much more neutral compared to the previous dark brown. We have Alaska, which is a shiny top coat with, I don't know, blue and purple and a bit of teal. Not teal, maybe just blue and purple reflects on top. And then we have the neon color, which here it is called Nothing Personal. I don't have the coral palette to compare it to, but I've seen from people who do that this coral is much more neon than the other one, which is more muted. This is my second favorite palette, and I would purchase it just for these 2 shades right here. And that brings me to another comment, which is that I would love for these eyeshadow palettes to be like the Natasha Denona and be depottable or magnetic. Yes, the price point is lower than the Natasha Denona, and the components would be much more costly if they had them magnetic. They would probably have to have holes on the back with magnets inside and everything. But then I would be able to rearrange these as I wished with the color stories that I wished, because they're so small. You either love the whole color story or you're a little bit stuck with eyeshadows that you don't care for. This one is mine. The Topper Alaska is nice. It feels a bit dry as a formula, but it does a really good job on the eyes, and yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty, but the wow is definitely these 2 shades, the Super Sparkle and the Metal Foil. Now I'm quickly gonna put next to this neon the one from the Sultry palette, because that was also Source Sight, and you can see that it's actually much more muted of a color. This is much more neon. I mean, they could have done a neon palette and then they would have been on trend. And that is also a criticism that I've heard a lot, is that these aren't really what you would expect for color stories. They're still quite on brand, I guess, that they're still always a bit neutral. There's no green palette, there's no pastel, there's no neon palette. There's a little bit here and there, 1 or 2 shades that that recall these trends, but never really going deep into that. Together with the Metropolitan, we have the Stylo number 2, which is the one I bought, and I love this stylo. This is a deep brown that you can blend really well and sets and stays forever. So Two things that you have to keep in mind is that you have to apply a small section of the stylo and then blend it out immediately, otherwise you will make a mess. You'll see in my tutorial for the Wild Berry with the other stylo how I actually on one side, the one side where I was doing the tutorial, because I was talking, I let it sit a little bit too long, so then it didn't blend as well. But here we have the stylo number 2, and you can see that it blends so well. I wore it today in the outer corner before applying the other darker eyeshadow, and it blended really well. I would have also been comfortable letting it like that, and I also wear it in my inner corner, in my inner waterline, sorry, and this is one of the most long-lasting dark pencils I have. I usually cry off my waterline color, and these last so well. I've had it for, I don't know, less than a week, and this is how much I have already used from it. Luckily, on the back there is a sharpener, so you can actually sharpen the tip. Because this is a plastic component, you're not supposed to be sharpening the plastic component. You're supposed to be twisting it up like this. And it twists back down, as you have seen. So this is a beautiful shade. It's a neutral brown. I tried it on my lips. Not really great. It's a little bit too neutral to look good on me for my lips, and it's a little bit too, it sets, and so you can really see the difference on the inner part of your lip. So I wouldn't recommend it for the lips, but for the eyes, I think this is gorgeous, and it's gonna be a very nice base for smoky eyes, or just to intensify the edges. You can apply it on top of each other, so you can definitely like apply some, blend it out, and then apply to intensify only close to the lash line. This formula is a great hit for Nabla, I think, and definitely I'm looking forward to see if they will have new colors, because in this collection we have a light brown, a nudie shade, this dark brown, a dark plum, but no black, for example, and that is something that I can imagine they could bring out because of the nature of this and the fact that many people just use a black liner to smudge on the lash line. Really good formula, really good product, a hit. I would recommend that if you're looking for a dark brown or a berry or a nude liner, I would definitely recommend you try these. Very good. The final palette, and my least favorite unfortunately, is the Wild Berry. It has a beautiful berry bush packaging, and the two symbols are a leaf and a candy, actually. A candy? Whatever. And this here is the color story in it. This one is the only palette with a latex matte, which is this shade right here, Incense. And then in this palette we have the shade Alchemy 2, which is famous because Original Alchemy is a single shadow that Nabla has made a while ago, and it's one of their best sellers. Starting with the swatches, this is Incense, which is the latex matte eyeshadow, and this is the first time I try latex matte eyeshadows. This one is actually quite chunky. Maybe I can actually show you the pan. I hope you can see that it actually brings up quite a few chunks when you swatch it and when you pick it up with a brush, but the application is really nice. These feel different from the cream to matte from Natasha Denona. Those are more shiny, a bit more creamy. This is in between those and a powder formula, I find. The effect on the skin and on the eyes is absolutely beautiful. I really like it as a wash of color in the crease and a very natural everyday look. I think it looks really nice. It's a very nice peachy transition shade. The next one is the shade Venom, and it is a magenta in the super matte formula. I'm going skewer and skewer with the swatches, but it's very difficult to do upside down. Very pretty shade, not my type of shade, but that's okay. Next up we have a fluid metal, and this is the shade Bucolic Baby. It's actually quite a nice warm tone undertone with some shimmer that is a little bit of a cooler pink. It's very elegant on the eye, but it doesn't like give that punch that you want from a shade like that in a palette like this. I think it should have been much more intense and glittery. Maybe it should have been a super sparkle formula. Just putting it out there. Next up we have Alchemy 2.0, and this is in a metal foil formula, and it is a beautiful, almost transparent base with gorgeous reflects. This mint green, and it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It's definitely a statement. Then we have another matte, which is Blackberry, and this is the third dark shade of this collection. And then we have another matte, which is called Botanic Juice, I don't know them by heart yet, which is a bit more of a red toned shade. I have trouble with this palette because the color story doesn't really draw me in. I don't wear red as much anymore, or purples, so I find myself a little bit just not reaching for it. I think the textures are nice, just the color choices are unfortunate, let's say. To give you a few comparisons, the first obvious one is the comparison between Alchemy 2 and Alchemy 1. The first Alchemy, you can see, is definitely much more, it has a stronger base, it has a stronger shift, it's much louder of an eyeshadow. It's much more suited for people who love color. I believe this one was part of the Free Domination collection, which was really punchy with these beautiful teals and purples. And oh my god, it was the last really good single collection that Nabla made. I miss those so much. Anyways, that's another matter. But you can see that Alchemy 2 is like a wearable version. It's like a more basic version of it. It's still absolutely beautiful, and it's a topper shade, and I think you can get a lot of use out of it on top of any eyeshadow or on the inner corner just for a pop of color. It's a beautiful eyeshadow. It also falls up quite a bit into the idea of Nabla making more wearable, more glamour and less loud collections. The next comparison I want to make would actually be with the Modern Renaissance palette, because this palette right here reminds me a lot of Modern Renaissance. Unfortunately, I don't have it anymore. I gave it to my mom after my declutter. She loves it, so I'm not mad about that. But I wanted to compare the matte eyeshadows with the one shadow from the Modern Renaissance palette that I have, which is Love Letter right here. So these are Venom, Botanic Juice, and then Love Letter. And you can see that Love Letter sits kind of in between. It's a bit more muted of a purple and a bit more purple than Botanic Juice. And this is one comparison that I wanted to show you. Again, the strong suit of these palettes are the special shades, and in this palette I think the one that makes it worth it is Alchemy, but that to me isn't enough. So fortunately, I regret buying this palette. Not that it doesn't work well, it's just the color story is not for me. And this is a little bit what I want to say about all of these palettes. Like, I rate them or rank them for my preference and the color stories that work for me. So definitely I would say you need Platinum if you like neutrals, and even you can see that this isn't really a cool toned eyeshadow look. Like, the crease color isn't cool toned, so the medium neutral that you would use in the crease isn't cool toned, and you have a warm or a warmer smoky lid shade. So you can do looks that are not cool toned, and same with this more muted taupey rose, or like muted taupey rosy shade right here that is called Rich Darling. It's not a cool toned eyeshadow per se. It has both cool and warm tones, and I love it. I just can't get enough of that palette. That said, I didn't finish for the Wild Berry. I'm sorry. We also have another stylo, and it's this dark berry shade. I think this is gorgeous. it's a very interesting color to apply on the eyes. Again, this you'll see in the tutorial is what I applied and didn't manage to blend out in time. It's a very beautiful base for smoky eyes or just more graphical liners. I really like this one. I don't use berries as much, and I have berry liners that I'm using, and so this is actually my friend's. And then we have the lipstick, which is the Glam Touch lipstick in Wild Berry. A little bit about this formula. This is definitely a different formula from their mattes and from their old lipstick. So if you know Nabla for a bit longer, they had a lipstick line before, and this guy right here is a creamy, shiny lipstick. It will not last a very long time. On me, it lasts 2 or 3 hours, and then it fades very nicely on the inner corner. It has a soft, natural finish because it dries down a little, and it kind of looks like lips. It doesn't look like crusty matte lips, which is a good thing. It doesn't look juicy the whole day through, but it's one of the most comfortable lipstick formulas I've ever tried. It's much less emollient than something like the Lusters by MAC. It's not matte. I think the formula is spot on. Gorgeous formula. The color right here for me is a little bit too cool and too a touch too gray, so I don't love this color, and this will also go to my friend, but I wanted to try the formula. So now, with the sanitation that is necessary in these cases, since I tried a lipstick, I'm gonna sanitize these items that I will give to her. But I think the formula of the lipsticks is really good, and if you are captured by one of the shades, I would definitely say go and try it, purchase it, because you will not be disappointed. These work so well, they apply well, they're soft, they're comfortable. I can't speak any better. All of the formulas in this collection are like spot on, really well done, and the only criticism that I can find is color story, but that is so personal. It depends so much on what you're coloring, what you like to wear, and not everything is for everyone, and that is the only thing that I can tell you on choosing these. But there is no palette or formula where you will go wrong. They're all performing very well, and all, yeah, good investments if you want to purchase any. One last comparison that I wanted to do for you that was requested during the live that I did to try these on is between the 3 dark shades in the palettes. I am going to swatch first the one from the Platinum, the shade Tenebra, then we have Lord from the Metropolitan, and then we have Blackberry from Wild Berry. And I hope that this shows you clearly how they are so different and definitely not the same shade. I think this is a very strong point of these palettes, is that each has a deep enough shade. They're clearly palettes for a bit of a more dramatic look. There's not a lot of light transitions or medium transitions. They're definitely for dramatic looks. I think that works well for my style of makeup, for example, but I think this is one of the lightest makeups that I could make with these palettes, to be honest. So I put it out there. If you're a very nude type of gal or guy, these might be a little bit too intense, but I really like that there's a dark shade, because often enough that's exactly what is lacking in these capsule palettes. And that said, I think I blabbed on about these long enough. If you made it through this long in the video, thank you so much. There will be some quick tutorials coming up. I lost the audio of 2 of them, which is very annoying, so I'll just put some music and let them run a little bit faster. And you will also see more looks coming on Instagram very soon, or they're already there. Depends a little bit on how I feel the whole situation. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the tutorials and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys. I start with a primed eyelid, and I'm going in with this medium warmy rosy brown called Aristocracy and applying it into my crease. I love the tone of this. It's really beautiful and sultry and sultry, not from the sultry palette, but it's very nice, and in the texture super matte. I really like the tone of this. It blends out nicely, and to be honest, this could just be a look in itself, just with this shade in the crease. But I want to show you a bit more structured looks, yet something that I would wear regularly. I saw a lot of fancy cut creases and I don't know, weird, or not weird, like more intricate makeup looks on Instagram, and I just want to show you an everyday glam, soft glam type of makeup, which is what I wear and I like to wear. I don't really do cut creases or stuff like that for my daily life, and that's what my makeup is for. It's definitely a nice and fun hobby, but it's also what I wear on a daily basis. With a smaller brush and the shade Tenebra, which is the darkest of the browns, I'm gonna deepen the outer corner, and I love how deep this brown is. It's really, really dark, but not black, and it works really well with this palette. You'll see later when I use the Metropolitan how actually I'm missing that shade, a shade like this in that palette, a transition between a medium transition shade and the darker brown. Super simple, very effective. I am now taking a flat shader brush and the shade Rich Darling right here, which is a little bit underwhelming compared to what you'd expect from the pan, but it's again a very elegant shade. Like, you're good to go. It's very elegant, and I wanted to show it to you and use it as a base for something more glitzy and glittery. But I think I really, really like the look as is right now. However, because I can't just leave it at this, I am taking the shade Gem System, which is one of these special textured glittery shades. I'm applying it first with the brush to show you that you can actually do something subtle with it, and it's really pretty, just like this. But the real effect is either applied on a tacky base or just with your fingers to get the amazing shine that these glitters do. And the tone of this is so beautiful. So beautiful. Look at that. And it's a gunmetal shade, but it has a little bit of brown in it. It's not completely gray, so it looks really, really good on the eye. I am just going in and redefining the outside and deeper part of my crease, because with the fingers I'm not very precise. So I like to take, this is one of my favorite brushes, the Nabla small pencil brush. It's not per se a pencil brush because it's much softer, so it's perfect for like detailed crease work, and you can blend with it as well. And then with my favorite brush, the Nabla Precision Shader, I'm just gonna go over everything to smooth it out. It's almost like an eraser, this one. It really blends and erases a little bit what you have. If you feel like you've lost intensity because of the blending, you can just go back in, and I'm using again the shade Aristocracy. There we go. And it gives me again my depth and still blended. Now I'm taking the Cupid's arrow number 2, is this one? Yes, this one is with the Metropolitan collection, and I'm gonna tight line my upper waterline, my lower waterline, and a little bit the outer corner, and quickly smudge it all out, because these, when they set, you can't touch them anymore. I went a little bit too far in, so with a cotton swab, I'm gonna remove a little bit of the brown there. It kind of emphasizes the little fine lines that I have, and I don't really want that. And then to blend the lower lash line, I'm taking Aristocracy, this lighter shade, the lightest matte in there, and running it underneath my eye. and that will blend everything together and smoke it all out. I think it can use a little bit on the other side as well. For the inner corner, no mystery there, I'll be taking the silver called Luxuriance and the Nabla Lash Line Smudger. I love this brush as well. This was from the Rose Gold collection. And I had forgot to do it on the other side. And it is so, so beautiful. I'll apply some mascara and then I'll be done. And here is the finished look using the Cutie Platinum. Let's now move to the next tutorial.